I told my friends he needs pills to perform. Now he won't answer my calls. Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm 26, and I was dating this guy Ben for about 8 months. He's 29. We met through a friend at a birthday thing, started talking after, and it just clicked fast. Ben wasn't a showy type. He didn't try to impress anyone. He just did his thing and minded his business. He was the kind of person who didn't say much, but you could tell he meant whatever he said, and I liked that. He had a small apartment, worked in IT, and made me feel loved. And that was enough for me. I've dated guys who were a lot more fun, but also a lot more stress. With him, everything felt good and easy. He'd show up when he said he would, remember little things I said, and make me coffee in the morning. I know it sounds small, but that's the kind of stuff that made me stay in a relationship. Everything was good except one thing, and honestly, it didn't even bother me. Sometimes when we were about to have sex, he'd need a pill. He told me that early on, like the second or third time we slept together. He said it just helps him stay confident because sometimes his anxiety messes with him. I remember saying okay and meaning it. If I'm being honest, it wasn't a big deal to me. I didn't think less of him, and it didn't change how I saw him. He told me once that it wasn't really about the pills, it was about his head. He said sometimes he'd start overthinking before we even got there. Stuff like, what if I can't keep it up? Like wondering if he'd mess up, or if I'd think something was wrong with him. It started after his last relationship, when the girl made a joke about him being off and not lasting. Since then, it stuck with him, and he'd get nervous even when things were fine. He said the pills just helped him stop thinking so much. That's literally how he put it. It helps me shut my brain up. He didn't like talking about it, but when he did, he was open. I never judged him for it. I actually thought it was brave that he even said it out loud. Most guys would rather die than admit something like that. He wasn't weird about it, though. It wasn't every time, just sometimes. We didn't talk about it much after that. It just became a thing. Whenever he went to take the pill, which he probably kept in his bedside drawer, I would look away to give him privacy, like I didn't want to make him feel awkward or self-conscious about it. We had good sex either way. I never brought it up with anyone. I didn't even tell my closest friend. You know, that kind of stuff is supposed to be private, so I kept it to myself. I wasn't really a pills person myself. I never believed in them much. But with Ben, I didn't mind. Honestly, part of me thought it made sex a little more interesting. There was this thrill, knowing how much it mattered to him, and that length or performance could be different. It wasn't like I needed it to enjoy him, but it added something. I never asked him to stop, but I think part of the reason he felt anxious was just him. Naturally, he was already good, I think. But maybe the past relationships messed with his confidence. I could kind of see why a girl would make a stupid comment like that to him before, because sometimes he hesitated, and sometimes he looked unsure. But that didn't matter to me. But I got why someone else might notice it and make a mean comment about it. And I wished that didn't happen to him because it entirely messed him up. Our relationship itself wasn't perfect, but it was real. We had little disagreements here and there, but nothing serious. I liked that he never pressured me into anything, and he respected my space. Sometimes we'd just sit in his apartment for hours doing nothing, talking about random stuff or scrolling on our phones side by side, and it felt comfortable. I could just be myself around him without worrying about judgment. I think that's why I liked him so much. It felt easy and not complicated, and I hadn't felt that way in a long time. Ben also had this serious way of listening that made you say too much sometimes. And he didn't talk a lot about his past except about why the pill was necessary for him. But I knew he'd been cheated on once, so he had some trust issues. He wasn't insecure about his body or anything, but he did get quiet if sex came up in public conversations. Like, if my friends made jokes, he'd just smile and change the subject. I never thought much of it. He met a few of my friends once or twice, mostly at small hangouts. Everyone liked him, but some of the girls said he was too calm, which I think was code for boring, but that's fine. I liked boring. I liked that he didn't talk over me or try to be the center of attention. We were planning a weekend trip together before everything blew up. I'd even told my mom about him, which is rare for me. He'd started leaving a few things at my place: toothbrush, charger, random t-shirts. So our relationship felt like it was going somewhere real. I didn't see any problem. We had no fights, no weird distance, no reason to think anything was wrong. The last normal night we had, we watched a movie, ordered food, and fell asleep halfway through. I remember him holding my hand while we were dozing off. That was a week before I ruined everything, and it's not like I intentionally did that. I would never want to betray him because aside from me wanting to keep our bedroom activities private, he also asked me not to even mention it to anyone. Not as a joke, or give a hint about it, and not even in passing. When he told me, he just said it gently and calmly, like he didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but I could tell it mattered to him, so I promised him, even though I didn't think it was a big deal myself. I mean, a lot of people use pills to perform, but it felt like he was trusting me with something really small but important, and I didn't want to mess that up. Last Friday, my friends and I were hanging out at Ava's apartment. There were 5 of us, and we were just having our normal hangout with the usual nonsense talk. We hadn't done that in a while, so everyone was extra chatty. So we started talking about our partners, and someone brought up their boyfriend being too quick, and it turned into a full-on sex talk. Everyone was trying to one-up the other with stories or jokes. At first, I was just listening. I didn't want to talk about my relationship because my friends can be loud. They like to tease, and I know once they grab onto something, they won't let it go. But then one of them, V, looked straight at me and asked why I was quiet, and that mine must be boring. That's why I can't say anything. Everyone laughed. I just rolled my eyes, but she pushed again, and something like, "Come on, who's better in bed, you or him?" I don't even know what made me say it. I think it's the drinks, or because I didn't want to sound uptight. I mean, everyone was being all vulnerable and open, and I was just there without being able to contribute, and when I was pushed. I didn't know how to keep shut anymore, so I just blurted out and said I was better because Ben needed pills to perform. It came out fast, almost like a joke. My friends screamed, then laughed right after. They were all quite surprised, and instead of shutting up, I laughed too. I thought that would lighten the situation and make it seem like a joke. Ava picked up her phone, pretending to record the moment for Snapchat. I told her not to post it, and she said she wouldn't. I didn't think she actually did. That night, after the joke, they kept laughing about it. I laughed along because what else was I supposed to do? I didn't want to look defensive or guilty. The whole thing lasted maybe 5 minutes, then we moved on to something else. When I was leaving that night, I felt a small sting of guilt. It wasn't even guilt, more like a thought I pushed away. Ben had told me that in confidence, and now it was sitting out there as a joke between my friends. But I told myself they'd forget. We all say dumb things when we're drinking, right? The next day, everything seemed normal. I texted Ben like usual. He was fine and had no clue about what happened. We even FaceTimed that night. He showed me his new haircut, and we talked about what to cook when he came over. I didn't say anything about the joke, although I wanted to. I thought it would just disappear like small talk usually does. He came over that evening as we originally planned. I wanted to cook a splendid meal for him. I guess that was my own way of soothing my conscience because even though he didn't know what I had done, my heart felt troubled. I felt like I had betrayed his trust, so I wanted to do something about it. When he came over, I met him at the door. I had asked him to buy a few things on his way over, so I quickly got them from him. He asked me why I was acting like he was a visitor, because I never got the bags from him whenever he came over. My home was practically his, so he knew where to keep everything. I chuckled and told him that I just wanted to get things done quickly. I took the bags to the kitchen and began cooking. He rolled up his sleeves and joined me in the kitchen, but I told him to take a seat, and I gave him some crackers. I didn't want him to do anything. He found it odd because we cooked together whenever he was over at mine, or I was over at his. He asked me if I didn't need his help, but I just told him that I knew he was tired, so he could just relax while I prepared the meal. He didn't want to, but I insisted, so he took a seat there in the kitchen and slowly ate his crackers. While I was preparing the meals, I would occasionally look at him, and he was mostly watching me, and that made me feel a lot more guilty. So I would pretend to be bashful and ask him to stop looking at me like that. He laughed and asked me how he was looking at me. I told him that he was looking at me like I was the only thing in the kitchen. He chuckled and told me that I was cute, so he pulled out his phone and shifted his focus to that. I continued cooking, and I looked at him like twice after that to make sure that he wasn't looking at me. And indeed, he wasn't looking at me. He was now buried inside his screen. I saw him smiling because he was watching some cute videos, His TikTok was filled with cute baby videos or children videos. I don't know how he built such an algorithm. So I focused on cooking. I was just about done when I looked to ask him to help me get the plates, because I usually needed to climb a stool to reach them. That's when I noticed that he wasn't smiling any longer. His face was tighter than a puckered asshole. There could only be two reasons he could be looking that angry. He had either entered Twitter, or his drug-addicted younger brother was asking him for money. At least those were the two things that normally got him pissed while he was on his phone. But this wasn't a normal situation. I felt my heart skip a beat, because I was scared that he had found out. I know my friends. They have the loudest mouths I have ever seen. I called him softly, trying to get his attention. I knew if he went off complaining about what he had seen, then I knew all was well, at least relatively, because that's what he normally does. He would begin complaining to me about how his brother was a pain in the neck, or how the state of the world government was going to tits up. But he didn't say anything. He just slowly raised his head and looked at me. He didn't say anything, and that was when I knew. I asked him what was wrong, trying to give the universe the benefit of doubt. I wanted to be proven wrong. I needed to be wrong, but it didn't seem like I was wrong. He opened his mouth to say something, but his lips were shaking. I slowly dropped the cooking spoon in my hand on the counter and asked him again what was wrong. That's when he asked me if he was a bad person. I didn't understand the question, but I immediately told him that he was saying nonsense. I told him that he was the perfect boyfriend, and he was. He then asked me if he had ever done wrong by me. I told him he hadn't, unless we were counting the time he was supposed to pick me up from an event center, and instead he went to a hotel of the same name. He waited in front of the hotel for almost an hour, and I was waiting for him at the event center. It was very frustrating. I brought up that topic because I wanted to get him to laugh, but he didn't laugh. His face was still all squeezed up. He then asked me what he could have done to deserve all this. He showed me his phone, and I saw messages on the guys' group chat. I knew the guys had their own group chat, same as the girls, but this was the first time I was opportune to go through it. I began scrolling and found out that one of the guys had mentioned that Ben couldn't have sex without pills. He claimed that his girlfriend told him about it, and I keep who his girlfriend was. That stupid V. I couldn't breathe. The guys were making jokes with it as though it was completely okay, but I knew it was not okay, and it was something that Ben was very sensitive about. I looked at him, and I could see how red he had become. "You're the only one I ever told," that's what Ben said to me. The messages kept coming in on the group chat, and soon some of the guys began doubting the validity of the information. So the V's boyfriend dropped the Snapchat video of me saying that my boyfriend couldn't handle me without drugs, and that's how it spread to even the main group chat. I could see the life I had built crumbling before my eyes. Those stupid words were my undoing. I tried to talk, but he just said I can eat alone. Then he got up, took his phone from me, and left the house. I ran after him, calling him, but he didn't stop. Then I tried calling him on the phone, but he wasn't answering. I went to his house the next day. He wasn't around, and each time I went, it's either he's not around or he's not opening the door. No matter the scene I create outside or how much I begged, he just wouldn't. I felt completely hopeless, and I gave up going there. It's a week now, and still nothing from him. He stopped answering my calls and texts. I kept messaging him trying to explain that it wasn't serious, and that it was just a joke, and I didn't mean it the way he thinks, but he read some of them and didn't reply. I heard from a few people that he's really hurt and embarrassed, and that just made me feel worse because now everyone around us knows, and it's not something I can take back. I didn't even think that one dumb comment could spread this far. I thought it would just die there that night, but apparently it didn't. I don't even know how to fix this. Like, what am I supposed to say? Sorry again. I already said that, but it doesn't matter because he's not listening and he won't even let me talk. I keep checking my phone all the time, even though I know he won't reply, and it's like I'm waiting for something that's already done. I feel frustrated. Maybe that's not even the right word. I just hate how this ended. I didn't cheat or anything, but it feels like I still betrayed him in some way. It's like our relationship just ended without anyone saying it out loud or officially breaking it off. I think he has blocked me. I don't know anymore. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm here to say what happened and own it. Now, I have explained, it's clear I said something I shouldn't have said, and it blew up and hurt someone who didn't deserve it, and I don't have an excuse for it. All I know is that it was dumb and careless, and that's on me. Update. I saw Ben once last week. I just ran into him at this small shop close to where he stays. I didn't even recognize him at first until he turned and looked at me, and I just froze. He was completely surprised to see me as well. I tried to talk to him, and he looked like he didn't want to, but since it was a public place, he had to stay and listen to me. But I could tell he didn't want to be there and was barely paying attention. He just kept his hands in his pockets and barely looked at me. I started talking fast, just saying how sorry I was, and that I've been trying to reach him, and I didn't mean to hurt him, but he didn't say much. Just short answers like yeah or okay. I kept talking because I didn't know what else to do. I told him I missed him and I didn't want things to end like this. He finally said something longer and told me that I made him feel like a joke and that he trusted me with something private and I turned it into something for people to laugh about. Then he said he'd rather be alone than be with someone who laughs about him behind his back. And he added that he can't trust me anymore because he trusted me, and look what that did to him. I don't even remember what I said after that. I think I just started crying right there. But he just stood there, watching me for a bit, then said he had to go, and he walked away. I didn't even move for a few seconds. I just stood there crying and feeling stupid. Before he left, I asked him to at least unblock me. I told him I just wanted to talk properly one more time, and he said no. And there's nothing to talk about anymore, and that's when it really hit me that he's done for real. That was the last time I saw him. I haven't seen him since. I still pass by that area sometimes hoping maybe I'll bump into him again, but it never happens. I check his socials sometimes, even though I know he probably doesn't post much, or maybe he changed accounts I don't even know anymore. Everything just feels weird now, like I lost someone who actually cared about me, but I was the one who ruined it, and there's no way to fix it. I used to think if something goes wrong in a relationship, you can talk about it or apologize or something, but this feels different, like a wall I can't break no matter what I say. And it sucks because he didn't even do anything wrong. He just trusted me and I messed that up, and now he doesn't even want to hear from me. I get it, I really do. I get why he's hurt, but it still hurts that he won't even give me a chance to explain properly or see that it wasn't from a bad place and it was just a stupid moment that went too far. Now, when I think about him, I just feel both guilt and regret and a little bit of anger at myself for being careless and saying just something I never should have said in front of the wrong people. I became so restless and frustrated, so I confronted my friends. I couldn't even believe they would do that to me. I wanted to know why they did that to me, why they had to spread it around and make it worse than it already was. They looked at me like I was being dramatic, and they said it was just a joke that got out of hand, and that everyone laughs about that kind of stuff. But it didn't feel like that to me. It felt cruel. Then V said it wasn't their fault. She said Ben's the one who takes pills, and instead of being proud or owning it, he broke up with me. And can't I see he wasn't worth it? She said my pathetic ass accepted him even when he couldn't perform without help, and he still left, and now I'm blaming them. She said it like I was stupid for even caring. I felt bad for a second. I'm not even going to lie, but I had to shake it off. I told her to stop, but she didn't. She further said friends are allowed to laugh about each other's sexual life, and that it's not that serious. And then she said sorry, but in that fake way that isn't sorry at all. More like to shut me up. And that's when I told her she's toxic and won't even know when she has a good thing until she ruins it. She laughed and said I'm being sensitive, so I just left. Then I blocked her and the rest of them. I didn't want anything to do with them anymore. I don't think they were truly my friends. Since then, I haven't talked to any of them, and they haven't spoken to me either. Everything just kind of ended at once. I still think about Ben, though, sometimes, and I want to message him on social media, but I don't. I already did enough damage, and it's not like he would even respond. I felt so sad. He was the nicest guy I ever had, and I made him a joke. I don't think I'll ever forget that. I keep thinking about him every day, wondering if he'll ever forgive me, but probably not.